We got 3 travel nutrition tips for athletes, bodybuilders, whoever you are. You're going to want to check this out. We're getting started right now.
3, 2, 1.
I'm David Barr. If you're looking to get bigger, faster, stronger, get leaner, go longer, hit that subscribe and then the little bell so you don't miss the latest tips and tricks. And today I'm traveling. I am in beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana, doing some work for the ACSM, American College of Sports Medicine. And I gotta share these athlete nutrition travel tips. We all have to travel. It's not always great. Sometimes it's fun, even for a vacation, but it's not always great for our physique, our performance, that kind of thing. So there's 3 big tips, things I have picked up. I'm not going to jump into the scientific literature on this. I'm just gonna roll with it. And I got props and everything. This is exciting. Probably end up screwing something up, but that's the risk we run when we are doing travel nutrition tips. Okay, so tip number 1, protein. This is huge. When we travel, we are in danger of reaching that 0.8 grams per kilo body weight protein requirement. It is nasty. We're all protein deficient. We gotta be careful, but watch out for that 0.8 grams because if we get too much protein, we're going to have problems. I actually knew a guy who had too much protein once and he died. So be careful. I mean, his kidneys exploded, like shot right out of his back and injured nearby bystanders. But okay, we need protein, right? We are sorely lacking protein when we train. It's hard to transport. We're lacking protein when we travel. Hard to transport, hard to find, hard to maintain. I mean, it usually has to be refrigerated, right? So this is where the props come in. Okay, check this out. Okay, so travel tuna bags. How cool is this? These are expired. I'm going to eat them anyway, so maybe there will be another video about that, but travel tuna, about 20 grams of tuna each. People may not like you, but you can carry these anywhere. This is awesome, and I'm sure that's gonna show up really well on the mic. That is the double bag. Make sure you double bag all your protein. Why? Well, I have my casein that is now leaking all over. See, this is the danger. Don't get it on the mic. Casein is leaking all over the place because I didn't double bag it. What I'd like to do is usually put it in containers like this. This is ideal, not this. The other problem with these bags is difference between whey and leaky casein. What's the difference? Well, pro tip I use, having found this out the hard way, is putting a little vanilla or a different flavor, different color protein in with either your whey or your casein. That way you can identify it, figure out which one's whey, which one's casein. You don't want to make that mistake. You don't want to start chugging whey protein before you go to bed. Never a good solution. So make sure you can identify the difference between your protein powders. Make sure you double bag everything. This is leaking all over the place. I wish I could say I intentionally poked a hole in for a demo. That's not how it worked. This just happened during travel. Happens all the time. So again, make sure you get your more secure containers. Put the bags in those containers and that way you have the double storage. If something happens, it leaks out, not a big deal, okay? Bars, awesome, great choice. The problem is these are typically laden with carbs. Not that carbs are bad, not worried about carbs at all, but if it's like a 2-to-1 ratio, you don't want to be slamming back tons and tons of carbs just to get your extra protein, right? So these are great for planes, long trips, that kind of thing, but you don't want to have to rely on these. You may have some GI distress if you have too many of these or too much protein. I've had some unpleasant experiences with that, so be very careful. That is my personal warning. But by using these tips, you'll be able to get your protein needs or at least get close. You know what? If you're traveling, just focus more on the competition. Focus more about enjoying yourself, experiencing the city, the culture. Don't freak out if you're not meeting your gram per pound protein requirement a day. You don't need that much anyway, most likely, but it's one of those things. Just enjoy what you're doing. Tip number 2. This one is going to be about immunity. Again, I am not diving into the literature on this one. I am just talking about my personal experience. For me, Travel is very, very stressful. I'm just OCD like that, you might say. But the way to try to get around that is not only by de-stressing techniques, trying to figure out how to calm yourself down, just chill the hell out, basically. Maintain your probiotic regimen, okay? Establish and homogenize your probiotics before you travel and then maintain that throughout. And there's different ways to do that. So certainly probiotic pills, caps, whatever you have, start that before you leave. I suspect that many of us are using these anyway, so you want to use these throughout. Keep them with you, even if you're traveling to foreign countries. I mean, your gut flora is just going to be destroyed when you travel. We don't want that, right? We want to maintain, we want to homogenize. So start before you travel. Bring stuff with you that will allow you to maintain your gut flora. Probably know you have more microorganisms, more cells in your gut than you do in the rest of your body. Okay, it's like a whole other organism. There is massive potential for optimization improvement. I will go into that in other videos, other books, that kind of thing. But for now, traveling, probiotics. The other tip, typically in hotels, you can find Greek yogurts. So if you're chugging this stuff before you leave, that's great. You can typically find this on the road, especially in North America. Not always carb friendly. This one happens to be about a 1-to-1 carb ratio, 1.5 to 1 carb ratio. It's actually pretty impressive. So it's 13 grams of carbs per 9 grams of protein. Not too bad. So if you're consuming Greek yogurt before you leave, and you can find some even in a hotel, once you're traveling, this is the way to go. Keep eating this stuff. This is great for, again, maintaining that probiotic homogeneity, maintaining your gut flora. And that could potentially help with immunity, etc. All right, last one, and this is especially important during travel, but I mean, we could all use this type of advice. Fruits and vegetables. Now, yes, I know these are both fruits, but you can typically get this stuff at a hotel, not the end of the world. Try to maintain fruit and vegetable intake as much as you can. This is probably the hardest thing to do when you're traveling, especially if you're going to different countries. They may not be big on it. It may not be available. So travel with, say, a greens powder if you have to. It's suboptimal, but it's better than nothing. Pick up stuff at the hotel when you can. And for this one, I know I'm going to dump this, so I have to be very careful. For breakfast, the breakfast that I had, this is oatmeal, okay? It is basically a bowl of blueberries with a little bit of oatmeal on it. So load up on the blueberries, even though it's supposed to be, a condiment essentially for your oatmeal. Have a little oatmeal, dump on the blueberries, any kind of fresh fruit. That is fantastic. Buffets are great. If you can load up on the veggies there, just as long as it's a clean place, then you're flying, no worries. But focus on protein, probiotics, maintain your gut flora, and fruits and vegetable intake. That is going to make your travel life so much easier. Your competition's better. It's going to help with your physique. When you get home, you're probably going to be less likely to get sick. Again, not doing a deep scientific dive into this. We'll talk about that in other videos. But for this one, again, I'm on the road myself. This is just what I'm doing, what I find a lot of clients and athletes find helpful. I mean, you gotta get your protein somewhere, right? You gotta keep your gut healthy. You gotta keep your fruits and vegetables high, especially when you're traveling. Otherwise, you're going to get sick. And pro tip, when it comes to traveling, this is maybe a sidebar, bonus tip, whatever you want to call it. But if you're traveling across time zones, especially if you are headed east, that is going to mess with your circadian rhythms. We can talk about that in other videos, but real simple way to help with that is simply to imagine as soon as your ticket gets scanned and you are on the jetway, you are boarding that plane, you are on your destination time right away. Even though you haven't even fully boarded yet, you certainly haven't left the ground. Imagine that you're on your destination time already. So that's your time zone. So adjust accordingly. So if you know you're landing early in the morning, say 10 o'clock a.m., you're not going to want to sleep too much, right? You want to have that full day once you hit the ground. Well, also figure out your competition time if you're competing. Know how that matches up with your own circadian rhythms, how it matches up with your training, your sleep schedules, and start to prepare for that before you actually take off. Now, this is one of those things we can go into great detail on this. Definitely not part of the nutrition component, but people find this stuff to be very helpful. So just wanted to throw that out there, something that you might be able to find useful. And if it is, please let me know. I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. And that's what we got for the travel nutrition tips. Again, we got protein, we got probiotics, and then we got fruits and vegetables. So hope you like it. I'm David Barr. Until next time, raise the bar.